Good afternoon. I'm Claire and I'm chairing the Women of Wholesale initiative, and the reason we're all here today is to help us all share the challenges, opportunities, coping strategies we found over the last 8 weeks we've needed to survive and thrive in a home working situation. So let me introduce the three other ladies who are joining us today to talk this through. So Mel, first to you, please.
Hi, I'm Mel from Graze. I head up the out-of-home sales channel. I live in West London with my husband. We both work full-time. There's also a 2-year-old in our house, and I am 7 months pregnant at the moment.
Thank you. Katey?
Hi, I'm Katey. I work for DCS Group. I'm head of commercial there, so probably responsible for 30 to 40 people, including supply chain and category insight. I'm working full-time, as much as full-time can be at the moment. I've got a partner who is also meant to be working full-time from home, and I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at home with us.
Fantastic. Elit?
Hello, I'm Elit. I am the head of communications at JJ Foodservice 3 days a week, and I'm the founder and organizer of Women in Wholesale. So I've got a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old and a husband. I'm not sure which is worse, which of them is I'm currently working, the usual hours. I'm very grateful to have a job right now. Yeah, so I'm working full-time pretty much.
Brilliant. So in terms of sharing some of the challenges that you're having to contend with at the moment, Mel, can I turn to you first again? Do you want to share the most challenging pieces that you're having to deal with, and how you go about dealing with some of those?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot actually, because straight away what could come to mind is, I found it challenging with a 2-year-old balancing home and work life. But actually the most challenging thing I think I found during this lockdown period is grappling with my own personal high expectations of what's actually achievable in this new situation, as I try to balance a full-time job with childcare. This is more around putting pressure on myself, probably, and not my place of work. Graze have been incredibly supportive, and they're probably more relaxed than I am right now about balancing home and work life. And probably the thing for me that I've really taken away, because at the beginning, let's remember, this has been a journey for everybody. At the start, it was a mess. I wouldn't say that I was coping. I would say that it was a bit of a mess at the start. But what I have really anchored myself to is probably a flexible and, most importantly, an energizing routine, one that makes me actually feel good. So it's a personal preference, but I always get up at 6 a.m. I'm clear on my priorities for the day, and I try and segment the time across work, home, and Louis, my son. So I'm not trying to multitask at any one point, as it was just too stressful in the beginning. I was finding I was shouting at my son. I was in the park trying to do calls whilst make sure that my son didn't trip over. Just trying to segment that time has really helped me. For example, I'll schedule all my work calls into batches. We always have a family lunch together, even if it's just 10 minutes, just some kind of together time to actually appreciate these different circumstances. And then I'll agree with my husband that he absolutely needs to give me some time to exercise, some downtime, so I'm not feeling guilty if I do put my son in front of the TV. Thank goodness for the Disney Channel, not trying to promote anything here, but I'm not feeling guilty that I'm being a bad mum by sitting my son in front of the TV and catching up on some work. So those have been the real things that have kept me anchored and focused and not feeling too overwhelmed.
Fantastic. Oh, I think Mel's frozen a little bit at the end, but brilliant. Okay, so Katey, should we jump to you? I think Mel's frozen a bit. Do you want to give us your thoughts?
Yeah, so I suppose similar to Mel, really. I think not one point has DCS put me under any pressure to work an 8-hour day or over that. The biggest thing I found, I think
it's taken a really long time to get to this place, and
oh, sorry, Mel, you cut out a bit there.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm frozen.
Cool.
It's the reality of virtual recording.
I know. Yeah, so I don't think any, DCS have not put me under any pressure whatsoever. And I think, like Mel, from the outset, me and my partner were doing 1 hour on and 1 hour off. And it clearly just was not working. So my biggest challenges are, how do I be a good mum? How do I be a good teacher? How do I be a good boss? How do I be a good employee? And how do I look after myself? And actually, initially, all those things were really kind of overwhelming. So we agreed this 1 hour on, 1 hour off, and it was hideous. So I would have to basically go from mum mode to work mode in like half a second. So I'd finish being outside with the kids on their scooter, Scarlett had fallen over, and then 30 seconds later, I've got to be up at my desk presenting a presentation to P&G about various different very important things, and it just wasn't working. So we slowly kind of switched into a half a day on, half a day off, which seems to be working kind of really well. But I think the biggest thing, similar to Mel really, is just to kind of be kind to yourself, because you are not superhero and you cannot do all of those things. I think looking after yourself tends to come bottom of the pile when you're a mum anyway. But I try to kind of prioritise that a bit, because without that, even if it is just going to the supermarket, I know that sounds ridiculous, but just an hour in the supermarket on your own kind of really helps. So yeah, it's 4 hour day doing the job that I'm doing is not an easy thing, but that's probably one of the biggest challenges. How do you be all of those things brilliantly to everybody, which isn't easy.
Thanks. Elit, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, so me and my husband have been doing 1 day on, 1 day off, which I think is a little bit easier in terms of getting really immersed into what you're doing. Because like Katey said, one of the problems with having young children is the constant interruption. You do not get to have a thought process that's longer than a few minutes until it's interrupted. And it's a bit like sleep deprivation. Ideas don't get to be developed and fully formed. It's horrendous. It's like torture. So that's working quite well for us. Other things that have worked really well actually is staying connected with people that really energize and motivate you. This includes friends and relatives as well. I've been quite ruthless, and I have cut people out that bring me down and make me feel really negative. Even our closest family members are sometimes the worst worriers. They worry a lot and they think, oh, what if you lose your job? What if this? What if that? That can bring you down very quickly. So it's important, I think, to stay on top of the people that make you feel good and motivate you. Another thing that's really worked for me is looking after my head. So I can't be a great mum and good at my job and everything if I'm not looking after my sort of mental well-being. So I've been doing a lot of things that make me happy. I actually enjoy working, so I've been quite happy to work a lot, but I've also enjoyed cooking and gardening and having movie nights with my family. Something else that's really good, I bought one of these. It's just this little whiteboard, and I know we've all got calendars and diaries and all that, but this has been really good. Look, you can see how much I've already got done today. I've also been drinking a lot of wine and coffee, which has helped. Yeah. And again, I think we're going to look back on this, and I think you can only do your best and manage expectations. In terms of homeschooling, I've been awful. I've been letting my daughter just get on with it. And as soon as I get involved, I start to have a meltdown. So again, back to looking after my head, I have to just step back and let her do her best and be independent to protect my own sanity. That's what I've been doing. And yes, I've been putting Billy in front of Hey Dougie.
Brilliant, thank you, Elit. So, Mel, apart from wine and chocolate and coffee, obviously, what one piece of advice or what one specific activity have you relied on or has been really beneficial to you in helping you personally through the last 8 weeks?
I'd have to say it has been the time out, whether that be an exercise or go for a walk, do some yoga, something to clear my head. If it all gets too overwhelming and home life, Louis, if it all starts to build up on top of each other, it just becomes unmanageable, even the simplest of tasks. So having that time out allows me to energize myself and then start again. And if the morning's been rubbish, I'll just draw a line under it. Let's start again. It's the only way I can survive right now. And again, I'm a little bit like, I try to be grateful for the fact that I'm not homeschooling. I can put my 2-year-old in front of the TV. So I think taking the time out and then being grateful for the small things during this really difficult time.
Fantastic, thanks. Katey?
I think a couple of things. So one of the things that I learned quite quickly is having a really strict finish time, because otherwise your day blends into your night, then blends into your day, and you feel like you're on a bit of a hamster wheel. So I think that is probably one of the good things about having kids at home, is that come 5 o'clock, you know, that is it. It's right, it's dinner, it's bath, it's bed, and then it kind of eases you out of work. So having a really strict finish time, and I know some of the people in my team who don't have children, they're really struggling with that. So I would say to people out there, if you don't have children, please make sure you have that strict finish time, that you wouldn't necessarily, you wouldn't be working into the night if you're in an office, for example. And then I've had a bit of a crash course in delegation, whether that's upwards or to my team. How do you delegate effectively and quickly? And I've had to learn, I'm a bit of a control freak, I think, and I've had to learn quite quickly to let quite a lot go, and let other people help. And that's not a reflection on me and my job and how good I am or not at it. That is just a reflection of this situation, and you just have to let that kind of thing go. So they're the kind of 2 key things for me.
Fantastic. Elit, any other thoughts from you on specific advice that's really helped you get through over the last 8 weeks?
I've actually struggled with I work in communications, and I've struggled with the lack of communication. So my job at JJ's is to generate a lot of positive noise, and I do that by buzzing around like a bee from one department to the other, catching up all the latest news developments. I haven't been able to do that, and it's actually quite hard to do that remotely. So Zoom has been, and that, when I feel like I can't do my job, I get very frustrated, and I found that very difficult. So this is the complete opposite of what everyone else has said, but I've actually found Zoom meetings really helpful. I save 4 hours a day at the moment by not traveling. 4 hours, that's my commute. So I have a lot more time, and I've used that time to gain more skills. So I've done a bit of Google training, Google advertising. It's something I've always wanted to do but never quite got around to. So I've been able to spend some time on things like that, acquire new skills. So yeah, that's actually, I know it sounds awful, but that is helping me to get through, because I think I am a bit of a workaholic.
Fantastic, thank you, Elit. The other piece that we've done that might be worth sharing is actually getting some external expert coaches. So we have launched a customer academy over the last 8 weeks to try to help all of our commercial and sales teams with some standard tools to help them not just work from home but work more effectively. And on the back of that, we've been working with Uspire, who have really been helpful in doing lots of online remote coaching. And I think that's really helped people just deal with some of the emotional challenges that you have when you're more at home, and just have somebody impartial to talk things through. So that, I think, has worked really effectively, and I would strongly recommend just having someone external is easier just to talk things through, because sometimes it helps you put things into perspective that may otherwise get out of sync just because you're not thinking as clearly as otherwise you normally would do. So that's been a really interesting benefit over the last 8 weeks, definitely. Fantastic. Any final thoughts or reflections or pieces of advice for the brilliant Women in Wholesale audience today?
Is there anything that people will do differently when they go back? Will you work from home more, or or will it just be back to normal?
I'll have to leave that one up to Claire. But if I had the opportunity, absolutely, because the benefits to me are, when I'm sure you guys can appreciate, you get in from work, it's feeding the kids or whatever it is, then it's bed, it's bath, it's up, you do it all again. To have that extra hour on the end of each day is like gold dust for me. So I would hope, that should be a way that we would like to go. But definitely, definitely working from home for me is key.
Working from home, but also I think what definitely I could see our business taking on board is just the agility in communication. You don't have to be physically present to have a really good conversation and to add value to the work that you're doing. So, going up traveling 2-3 hours to go and see an external customer, let's just jump on a call. I think that will be a lot more acceptable. So I think, both from an efficiency, time, cost, and for the environment as well, I think a lot more communications will just be done online and therefore more flexible, for sure. But one thing I wanted to share is actually my boss very recently took some real weight off my shoulders by saying, nobody's judging you during this period. Just remember that nobody is judging you. Everyone is in the same boat. And for me, that really, he'll love the fact that I said that. But it really did lift the weight off my shoulders, because this is a really small period of time, hopefully, in the grand scheme of things. So we're not going to be judged on this period of time if fundamentally things have dropped or hours have gone down. And that for me that really took some weight off my shoulders.
Definitely. I think you're absolutely right, Mel. I think from an observation, we have had probably better communication with our suppliers and our customers over the last 8 weeks, because there are no barriers. There's no reason why you can't talk about stuff almost instantly in a reasonably large group of people if you need to. So the actual quality and I think quantity of communication has arguably been improved through necessity. So I think that's a fascinating. How do you maintain that level of connectivity after lockdown? Definitely.
Yeah.
Elit, did you have any thoughts on your own question that you wanted to share?
So anything that I'm going to do differently when I go back? I've really enjoyed spending extra time with the family, actually, sitting around the table, having family meals. I think it's really important we get so caught up with work and clubs, after school clubs, all that stuff. I think I'd really like to keep this element of family time going afterwards. It's really great. And actually, ironically, I communicate more with certain people work-wise than I've ever communicated with before. So we used to have WhatsApp meetings and they were awful, but since this happened, we all started using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and the quality of communications has really improved. So we'll be doing this a lot more, I think.
Fantastic. So, well, thank you all for your thoughts and for taking time out of your challenging days. And as from a Women in Wholesale perspective, hopefully you'll learn from the three wise women in front of you, and we will see you again at some point in the very near future. Thank you.